Welcome back to Someone Tesla. Today I have a special guest, which happens to be my wife. Now, you guys don't see my wife very much on this channel, but you know what? I figured this is something that today's topic is worth having her here for. And what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about, I like her, she doesn't even know this.
No, he just told me, okay, you're going to be my special guest. I'm like, okay, what's the topic? He goes, you'll see.
Yeah, today's special topic is, without a doubt, FSD price is going up by another $1,000. And you and I have had a ton of conversations with regards to FSD. For those of you who don't know, I have EAP, which basically, we'll get right into it. Let's just get the video started. I always love that intro. All right, so today, obviously, you and I, we've had the Tesla for what now? Two years. And I remember when we first got the car, there was an option obviously for getting the FSD and getting EAP.
Yeah, and we decided at that moment in time we wanted EAP.
Now that was like a $6,500 option, $6,000 option, something along those lines.
Something like that. I'd have to look back at the paperwork.
But that gave us quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
That gave us the self-parking, summons, navigate an autopilot. It gave us...
Well, navigated autopilot at that time wasn't a thing yet.
No, but it was part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
So it basically, with EAP, we got a ton of stuff. Now, as time went on, since then, the prices have obviously increased on FSD.
Yes, they have.
And each increment we were talking about, okay, should we get FSD? We've had this conversation back and forth a lot.
A lot.
Okay, so in your opinion, now with Tesla increasing the price as of June 1st, I believe it is, or July 1st, I can't remember, they're increasing the price by another $1,000. So once again, as soon as Elon tweets that out, we get back on a conversation table. And it always comes to the same exact conclusion every single time, right?
Yes, which is not to do it.
Now, why we don't do it is really important. One of the main reasons that we're not doing the FSD is, first of all, we are kind of torn on this. Elon is Elon. And so when Elon Musk says that something is going to happen, it's going to happen. Time frame, not so much. Even he admits that. But FSD, we still have lots of issues with FSD.
Well, I mean, there's so many little hurdles you have to go through even to get FSD completely out.
Right.
It's not just the hurdles that they have to do in the software and all of that.
Now, Elon says that, this is potentially going to be worth something like, I believe he said it's got potential value of like $100,000 or something like that. It's at least 15 times more than the value of what you're putting into it. And I think obviously this is based on X factors, right?
Yes.
If the features complete, if full autonomy, level 5 autonomy goes in play, then by far, sure, I think it can be worth it. But do you in any way, shape or form see this coming up anytime soon where, the car will just do the work?
Okay, I think that the car itself can do the work. I think that the programming can do it. I just think that there's too many outside issues.
Right. So we talked about infrastructure, for example. The infrastructure, the ways the roads are, the lines are not painted properly. So every city, every road would have to be 100% perfectly lined up, right? You can't have these areas where you have 3 lanes and 2 lanes have no lines. Obviously, this happens quite a bit. And I think the other side of it is, if the infrastructure is one thing, then the second aspect of that has to be, just other humans.
They're a factor, definitely. Yeah, they can cause some little monkey wrenches in there.
Yeah, and I think this is one of the big things. Now, do I believe that FSD is worth it? Okay, the way I'm telling you what I tell a lot of people is, if you are looking at your vehicle right now, you're planning on buying a Tesla, obviously Autopilot comes with, your purchase price. And Autopilot basically allows your vehicle to kind of, go around the bends. It allows you to slow down or speed up based on...
And then you can click the little turn signal and it will change lanes.
Actually, I don't know if Autopilot does that, auto lane change.
Oh,
So
okay, never mind. Strike that.
But basically, I'm not 100% sure. Maybe it does. But so basically, the FSD really gives you the extra stuff like the self parking, the summons, the navigate on autopilot. Now, I kept saying this numerous times on this channel. What have I been saying about navigate on autopilot? And I've gotten a few people commenting that that's, I'm putting on a show here and blah, blah, blah. What is, you and I to go on road trips a lot. What
Yes.
do I do? What are some of the first things I do when navigate on autopilot comes into question?
You don't turn it on.
Yeah, or I turn it off, even if I do turn it on.
Yeah, it gets turned off. Even when you do have it on, you have it on for like spurts. You won't leave it on for like extended periods of time.
Okay, so again, not from my perspective, but from your perspective, why is this? What are you seeing in navigate on autopilot compared to autopilot?
Well, one of the things that I've noticed, especially more recently with it, is that it's trying to keep up to the car in front of it more. So you're getting more of a choppy ride because it depends on the consistency of the person in front of you.
Right.
Where with the regular autopilot, it just maintains and it slows down when it needs to keep that gap going.
It's a lot smoother transition.
Yes.
And then, of course, if you put in the auto lane change, if you put in all those things, the
Well-
speed, I mean, it's continuously the same thing, isn't it? It's just like,
It would be nice if sometimes, like, let's say there's 3 lanes, okay? You're in the second lane. It always wants to go to the left and never wants to go to the right.
yeah. So,
Unless it's because there's an exit.
right. And even then, with exits, some interesting things happen with exits. So exits, again, this goes back to infrastructure. When you're talking about paying, you're increasing this, and I'm going to get into this in a couple of seconds of why Tesla, I think, has to do this at this point. But when it comes to exits and when it comes to the infrastructure, the way it's designed for us. The way we look at things, and the way that over the past 100 years, everything's been more or less the same. So the computer, there's only so much a computer can do. Although it can do more than us, the learning curve is still massive. The amount of different intersections, off ramps, variations that exist on this planet is mind blowing. Only in Vancouver, where we live, the types of intersections you have, it almost seems like there's no standard, although we know there are. But everything has enough of a variation that even now, actually, you're a great example of this. You are a new driver, right?
Yes.
You've gotten your license only, 6-7 months ago?
Something like that.
Okay, so how many new things have you run into in the last 7 months?
Every day there's something.
Right, and this is kind of my point. FSD, with a full self-driving system, the computers have to learn just enormous amount of things and you're driving mostly local.
Yes.
Right? So what happens when you go out? You keep encountering more things. But now you yourself have run into this where, you're not sure, wait a second, is this a lane? Is this really not a lane? So the infrastructure itself is one of the biggest issues we have here. So the infrastructure has to be, standardized for electric vehicles, I guess.
Well, I mean, there's one other problem here in BC is, I know in a lot of places they've done the whole streets go east, west, south, north. In BC here, we have them going
every which way.
Every which way. And the other problem is I also find when you're doing an off-ramp, on autopilot, it actually slows down a little bit nicer than it does on Navigate.
Yes. So most of
turns and
if
stuff.
you've ever done the tests, you're right. I'm glad you brought that up. So when I'm on autopilot, I just basically signal to the right. It takes the off ramp and it slows down nicely. It takes the turn really nicely. It's great. It really works perfectly. Now, when it comes to having navigate on autopilot, it's much more rough. It's much more. It's very inconsistent on how it slows down or how it speeds up or how quickly it slows down. So this is kind of my point here. When you're talking about the price of FSD and what Tesla is asking for it, I think they kind of trapped themselves. I think Tesla put themselves in a really, really awkward position. You see, they clearly stated that you should buy autopilot because full self-driving, because as time goes on, the prices will go up. And they kept that promise. Now, they can't really lower the price, because if they lower the price, then they basically go against what they said, and they're alienating all those people who basically bought this stuff. So now they're in a position where they have to keep doing this. But the big problem that comes out of this is less and less people are buying full self-driving.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why they came up with the ideas of the whole subscription base.
Which we still don't have any details about.
No.
But I think and we talked about the subscription base almost 2 years ago.
Well, but the thing is what we talked about is more of a pay and go thing, where subscription base, is that going to be the final draw on that, or is it going to be you're just going to keep paying for it as you want it, and the next thing you know, you spent more money than you would have if you just bought it?
Yeah, so again, we don't have the details on it, but I think ultimately that's something we don't know all the details about.
No.
However, when it's all said and done, the price is going up on FSD. Would you recommend to anybody to pay out just that ridiculous thousands of dollars right now on FSD?
I think if you're buying the car new right now, and if you felt like that you could put that into your payments and you're okay with that, unless you're paying it out in cash, when you're still okay with it, then, you know. But I think maybe if you're going down that path, yes. But I mean, if you're somebody like us who have the EAP, that price gap isn't enough, I don't think.
Fair enough. So in our case, we're obviously in Canada. So in our case, we paid about $6,000 or $6,500. Let's just say $6,000 we paid for
EAP.
EAP. If we want FSD right now, we'd have to pay an additional $6,500. Actually, once this thing takes effect, $7,500. And essentially, we would be getting absolutely nothing aside from the hardware 3 chip.
Yeah.
Now, the hardware 3 chip is not as relevant to us as I mentioned in previous video as, let's say, the MCU2, because the MCU2 is going to give us something that's usable. But that's besides the point. So you're right. If you have EAP, it just doesn't add up to spend the money right now, basically paying what you already paid, but you're getting really nothing out of it. And
I guess you get some maybe advanced features of what you already have.
Red light detection, stop sign detection. This is all city stuff. A lot of it is city stuff, and it just really doesn't. Again, that's a whole different ballgame. Again, the infrastructure is not ready for this, and the cars are not ready. I'd like to point that out because the car does have blind spots, right? Those cameras have blind spots. So on certain intersections, it actually wouldn't know what to do. It might very well cause a problem. So again, the infrastructure is not ready, and I don't know if the cars are ready for full self-driving in the city. I think you need to have the human input severely. But the next video, which we're going to record right after this one, but it's going to go up a little bit later. Next video, you and I are going to talk a little bit about the whole robotaxi idea, and it kind of relates to this video a little bit. So look forward to that one. I would love to hear, obviously, from you guys. What are your opinions? So would you pay right now the FSD, knowing that, you know, it's going to keep going up, and obviously they're keeping their word on that. If you already have EAP, do you think it's worth for you to upgrade? And if you are just buying, you know, with, let's say, the first generation, or even if you never had EAP or FSD, would you spend the money right now on upgrading to the FSD? Because you cannot no longer go to EAP. So for those people who bought their vehicles with nothing, just basic, they don't have the option to go with EAP. EAP was taken out, so now they're going to go with FSD. Enhanced Autopilot, by the way, is EAP. FSD is full self-driving. So let us know in the comments what you think. Special thanks to you, but you'll be back obviously on the next video, because like I said, after this we're going to be recording the next video.
Apparently I'll be in another video for you guys.
So yeah, I really want to hear you guys' opinion, what you guys going to do, what you're thinking about this. And if you are not a Tesla owner yet, but you're thinking about this, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and we will actually come back. Well, more than likely I will come back. It's my channel. I'll come back and I will discuss in a future video a few of your questions. I'll do a follow-up on this. With all that said, please everybody, drive safe, stay safe, and remember, you are the driver. The car is basically just an autopilot. You have to be the captain. Keep an eye on the road. Drive safe, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.